evening. Freaking devil dogs. And today's psych, nah, I ain't dick riding. Alright, let me go get these doggone freaking notes. Good to go. Freaking Bill. Let's talk about doggone freaking the study of the theory of piece quality. This is, I'm going to summarize it: dynamic and static doggone value. In hollow chess, freaking a piece value isn't defined by the point count, 3 for a bishop, 5 for a rook, but for the functional utility. A good piece that is high mobility and interacts with pawn structure, or actually makes a difference in the doggone position, or a bad piece, if restricted by its own pawn, becomes a tall pawn. In freaking last video, talking about doggone freaking the hierarchical protocol, relying on identitals and balance earlier to force trades and leave the opponent with ghost pieces. Pieces are useless. The pieces are technically on the board, but they have zero mathematical influence or logic influence. Excuse me. So, let's go into the anatomy of the bishop quality. D4, D5, queen gambit, queen hand decline, slap defense. C takes D5, C takes D5, knight C3, knight F6, bishop F4, pawn A6, knight to E3. No, not knight to E3. Freaking doggone pawn to E3, knight C6, freaking bishop knight F3, E6, freaking E bishop E2, B4, castles, pawn A3, freaking bishop slides back, freaking bishop takes D6, queen takes D6. This doggone freaking stick on, hey, this theoretically we call doggone bad bishop. Why? Because outside the pawn chain is on the same color of these doggone pawns here. Shout out, I said the doggone same freaking color. These freaking pawns, dark pawn. Scream! The freaking bad bishop thing. Same color of dark pawns. The problem is it bites on granite. It can't bypass its own pawn to attack the enemy team or support the advance. In the hierarchical video, talking about some doggone freaking, if you have a bad bishop, you can either exchange it for the good bishop or fix the chain by moving a pawn to the opposite color. Let's go into the good bishop. This bishop over here is the doggone good bishop. These two pawns are kind of putting the bishop on restrict mode for now, but the point is this: the good bishop is the most opposite color of the central pawns in the pawn chain. The advantage is it can slide between holes of its own structure as a long-range sniper and can attack the opponent's weak squares. And this is more of a master insight. The Slav exchange, in my last game, this game, the F4 bishop was good because it was the pawns on the dark squares. So my freaking this bishop here was freaking, what's it called? The F6, my freaking dark square bishop was the bad bishop, my light square bishop was the good bishop. And I exchanged the dark square bishop with their dark square bishop because these pawns are opposite colors. So this is saying, hey, thank you for the free trade. I appreciate you giving me. Thank you for giving me your good bishop for my bad bishop. Even though this bishop's more restricted, bishops should become good because of the pawn chain. So the queen is starting to react as the replacement for the freaking good bishop thing. The good bishop freaking theory. So, by trading them, I remove the most active defender. The queen has to be the most active defender. I'm leading them with bad knights. I can't handle my center. So, let's go into the knight now. As I continue. For rook c1, supporting the knight, extra pinning the knight to the bishop relatively, and freaking giving simply just putting the rook on the c file to a semi-open c file, and giving it more relative value. But now I would say it's about 5.5 because it's open on a semi-open file, which could put pressure on the knight and bishop, even though it's relatively defended for now. That's the whole reason why I did it. Freaking continuation b5, pawn to b5, trying to gain an advance on the queen side, 2-2 pawn majority, because of the pawn chain in the beginning of the game. Freaking pawn to b4 to shut that down. It's simply just continuously fight for the dark squares and restrict black's queen, and to shut down White's idea of freaking pushing, using this queen side equal majority to split apart and basically stack all the major pieces here. If I were black, type of thing. Freaking bishop d7, freaking knight to d2. Simply just putting the knight to reinforce the light squares, to fight for light squares, and just to simply be patient and try to find a pawn break and put itself on a potential anchor. Potentially go here, here. And the knight's purpose is to go like this. Put itself on a beautiful anchor right here. And that's what we call Octopus Knight. It's anchored on the 5th or 6th rank and defended by pawns or multiple pawns. It controls 8 squares in enemy territory and creates a positional paralysis. The stuck knight is on the edge of the board or the rim or stuck behind its own pawns. You would have search that only 2 to 3 moves, but the point is this. God. The most valuable knight is 3. I would give it about 2.5 if it was behind a pawn structure. Here, rerouting itself to that potential outpost, so I would give it about 4.5 to 5. So, let us move on. Now, freaking pawn e5, offering an exchange of pawns. Pawn takes, knight takes, knight, I put, what do we call it? Freaking pawn takes, freaking knight takes, and then freaking pawn h3, stopping the bishop from offering a trade on my good bishop. And sort of playing paraphylaxis. Freaking pawn d4. I hop in the knight, forcing a liquidation. It was a very one-dimensional move. It was just a simple sidestep, and I forked the knight and the queen and forced the knight to take unless it wants the queen to die. So knight takes e4, knight takes e4, queen to g6, queen takes pawn, d4. Freaking bishop h3, trying to do a desperate sacrifice. Now, putting a double pin on the king and trying to threaten mate in 1. Very predictable. Now, I use an advanced tactical interference to guard these light squares and to say, hey, you're not gonna be, I'm gonna decline your sacrifice and use tactical interference to stop your plan. So my knight also, I would even put up to about a 6 in relative value now because it stops checkmate. And it freaking, what's it called? And it does such a defensive job of protecting the checkmate and defending the light squares. So, bishop g4, queen takes e5, bishop takes bishop, knight goes backwards, threatening knight to f4, pawn to h5, knight to f4, queen steps down, and then queen to h5 takes, and black resigns. Why? Because I'm up 1, 2, 3 pawns. I'm up a minor piece and a pawn in an endgame where the king is absolutely shattered. So queen takes, I will see knight takes, and then it's hopeless for black. The rook has the open file, 2 rooks working together. This is basically a completely up a minor piece in an endgame, and that's why black resigned. It was hopeless. And me making such a confident move like that, using that psychology of, let's say it like this, piece quality is the reason why my accuracy is so high. I recognize that the Slav defense, I trading the bad bishop for their good bishop, wasn't losing a piece, it was executing a strategic hit on the bench defender. When you trade a bad or average piece for good ones, the board eventually simplifies the position where you have 3 live pieces and 3 dead pieces. These rooks are forced to defend these pawns. My rooks are open to run to the 6th and 7th rank, to even trade off itself and get into an up minor piece endgame, get this knight on this outpost, put this pawn here, get the king, walk up the board, all that good trash, while this black king is just stuck defending pawns and rooks just stuck defending pawns. So, what's my point? This is why you trade your bad pieces for good pieces if you get the chance. And now let's talk about the liquidation of the shop exchange. The structural integrity of my pawns and my pawn structure is always what makes an expert or advanced player into a master or competent professional at the game. My pawn structures are the most important thing to me because I understand how important pawns are. Weaknesses and isolated pawns and double isolated pawns and all that mess up type trash. It's a way of understanding that pawn structure is going to win against, is the key to winning in the highest level of chess. So, as I use the asset exchange by exchanging my good and bad bishop, forcing the trade for normally good pieces, and white the strip black of its defenses, rolling into a tactical collapse, and on even move 16. So, as you saw, freaking move 10, going pawn to a3, paralyze, it forces white by black bishop to declare its intent to retreat or trade. As you see in move 11, I go for the trade, the master trade. I trade the active f4 bishop for the d6 bishop in the structure. Black's b bishop, the black sniper removing it, silences their kingside pressure. And then eventually with the sniper gone, I just white claims the c file without resistance and put pressures on the knight and the freaking bishop on the semi-open c file. And also the tactical point of no return. Let's go to move 16. Move 16, pawn to h3. Black attempted a central breakthrough to create chaos. Pawn to d4. Yeah, under the protocol that I talked about, the Kukara killer, I responded with complexity neutralization. The counter 17 is knight to c4. Instead of reacting defensively, I used white's breakthrough to centralize a temple on the queen and knight, and forcing a trade of knights, logging another temple on the queen. While the knight becomes the octopus piece controlling frickin' d6, f6, g5, and c5 squares simultaneously. By move 21, knight takes d4, and we go move takes, and queen takes d5. I'm just simplifying it to about estimate. I'm not even gonna try to look at the screen. I'll say about a 4.5 to 5 advantage. Oh, okay, perfect. So right, and the game was mathematically over unless I hung the knight and allowed the checkmate in one threat. There was nothing else that black could do. And that's what we call the art of the positional trade. If you're tired of creating chaos and playing hope chest and making mistakes because of pressure, and you want to always be able to find like a human interrogative manner of finding the potentially top 3 to 4 engine moves every single time with asking yourself the right questions, subscribe, like, and comment. I'm gonna make a next video on it and how to logically do that by asking yourself the right questions. So, as you saw, you have to break the rules. In that position, the reason why I won is because I understood that rules change in theory, like freaking theory guidelines are interchangeable in games. To summarize and outro this, most players are taught to keep their good bishop at all costs. They're wrong. Today, I'm going to show you why the best piece to paralyze the master level in the Slavic exchange isn't just a trade, it's a structural execution. And as you saw, this is what it led to. So, 4.6 advantage, minor piece, and the relative values on my rooks. Can't see that much of an advantage. Now, that's all the tactical conversion. And now let's go into the theory of relative material value. Math against a scoreboard. In standard theory chess, we are taught the scoreboard pawn equals 1, knight equals 3, rook equals 5, queen equals 9. Master level logic. The scoreboard is not a lie, but an interchangeable dynamic due to set parameters. In my protocol, the Kukara succeeds because it ignores the 1 through 5 scale and calculates the dynamic weight of pieces in real time. The volatility ratio of why trading works. As a software developer, and thanks to someone has bit density. Fewer pieces on the board, more weight remaining of the piece carries statistically. And the mathematical weight for relative value equals facts that text piece nomad value text equals material on board. Let's go into this. And let's say it's like this. Phase 1 is the opening. I'm up a knight, 3 points. Total material is about, estimate 70%. My advantage is about 4. Phase 2, the end game. I'm up a knight, 3 points. But total material advantage is 10. My advantage is 30%. The board is quiet and the win is mathematically forced. So the reason why I'm winning this in the sense of this win is inevitable is because I'm up a minor piece against 2 rooks. Even though black may have a couple little hopes of counterfight, the math is in my favor. So, this is why I forced the queen trade. When I'm up a piece, I increase the density of my advantage until there's no resistance, and the resistance in counterplay is put to my opponent to 0. So let's go into square control. The bad bishop, no matter value, relative value for me, 1.5 to 1. The octopus knight, about 5.5. On a 6th ranked, it's effectively a rook that can jump. And then the active king. In regular value, it's 0, because it is the most important piece of the game. 4.0 to 5 in the end game. And now pawns, the pass pawn. Each time this pawn, let's see, we had a pass pawn, for example. If this pawn, let's say, use this as a pretend the pass pawn is there. I like to say, if this pawn is, we put a point of value on this pawn. So 1 piece of value, 2 value, 3 value, 4 value, 5 value, 6 value, 6, and then you skip this to 8 to 9 points of relative value on the pawn to the 6th and 7th rank. And promotion obviously is the most important because of how dangerous that is. I would say that's just plus 10. So, as you see me execute the clean kill, you must look for trades that look equal on the scoreboard but crushing in relative value. The quality swap, the chaos deletion, and the defender removal. This is the road to mastery from chess expert to a chess native engine master. To move from a chess expert 2000 elo to a chess master 200 plus. Stop playing for tricks, play for mathematical inevitability. Experts know the tactics, and master understands the architect of the position. The guideline and the framework are the same logic you use for myself. The clean kill in every game. Asset management, good and bad pieces, the theory of relative value and material. Up the knight, the expert view is up 3. The master ended val is up a 30% winning probability. The queen trade, I want to keep going the queen to attack. The queen is the chaos variable. Delete her to ensure a win. The exchange sacrifice. I'm losing 2 points of rook and knife. No, I'm trading 2 points of static value for 5 points of relative square control. The fewer pieces on the board, the more weight the material carries. That is volatility ratio. And that what liquidation supports. Thank you, gentlemen. And liquidation forces complexity pruning. The only hope is chaos. Remove the chaos by trading the heavy pieces. And the ultimatum principle. Force the opponent, a disease stricken state. You have a choice to lose material immediately or enter a lost endgame. And a geometrical cage. Don't hunt the king with checks. Build a prison using the bishop pair or my king, or maybe even make an offensive fortress in the middle of the frickin' board. The point remains the same. That is now the technical study guide. Delete the noise, harv it, force a swap, identify the anchor. Thank you, gentlemen, and have a good rest of your day. Hope you learned something new. Share, like, comment, subscribe, all that beautiful trash, and stay motivated and dedicated. To the spirit.